up, I'd say, and just lower it right down on there. Just shatters it. It's probably a 5-inch piece there. It doesn't like it, but I'll take my time. how do you move it? Grapple on the tractor. But then you have to, this way, you don't have to move anything. It's like instant gratification because I can see the water right away. You can see the pond, see what you're working with. And then I can always come back and take the stumps out, take the rut out. Then I don't have so much trash to deal with. Or try to get rid of, dispose. All this stuff will rot right down and be black dirt for 6 months. For some reason, this tag alder, once it's dead or cut up, it rots fast. It's real punky and some of that I'm not going to be able to reach from here anyway. Eventually I'll clean it up better. I just want to get a start on it. There's another little one that beaver cut off right there. Be able to put some of these in here better. That's what's nice with this. You can reach. You can reach with it. And you can reach over stuff. Like those pine trees that I just did. Generally, with a skid steer mounted one. Like I said, they're faster. But you can't do that. And you can't pick it up. You can't cut the top out of the tree out of it with the skid steer one. This thing's only 30 inches. So not really cutting a huge swath. But it's sufficient for what I want to do. It's enough. I think this machine would handle anything bigger, really. One thing nice is these old stumps. This is like 5 years old now. A little too far away from it. But you can grind up stumps right out flat with it. They're dead, decomposing. So they're soft. It's not going to grind out a green pine stump like that. I had a few along the road that were like that. They were cut off and I flushed them up so when I go to brush hog the next time, I'm not hitting them anymore because they're gone. Just don't like running them over with the tractor, running them over with the tire. away. Like I said, it's instant gratification. fitting for the area. And I'm proud of the heritage that we have here in Michigan. From logging to trapping to homesteading and whatever. Fishing, hunting. The state's has huge opportunities. It has for years. There's something about that site. It's sacred to me, you know. And when I read the placards and stuff about the men and what they endured to make their $26 a month, and basically all they could eat. You know, it's touching. It's really touching to see the history, see the monument, see the, that lumbermen did get recognized for their efforts. People don't think about that, you know. You see, the modern day, we do have modern day shows like Axemen and other shows like that to depict what it's currently like in the logging industry and forestry and timber cutters. But being that this was way, way, way back before, probably before cameras. I don't know when it really started, but, yeah, there was some old footage depicted by cameras, but I'm sure that was in the later days of it. So people have no idea what it was like in those days, the working conditions, the pay scale. The lack of equipment. I mean, they did everything with a misery whip and an axe. Horses. And the one thing I did not say in that video is that when you're in some of those ponds, the backwaters, here's an ash, but I scuffed it up so bad. See, it doesn't like that ash. Look at how it twisted up. It'll eat it, but it don't like it. And then they said that at 35, that logger was done. He was either too injured to do it anymore, too talking to him because we knew he was real. We had talked to him before, but he had this gig where he just like a statue, didn't move. And he was in his Indian garb. He had his headdress on. He had his full headdress on. I mean, it was, he was a chief, so it was a huge headdress. Went down, I don't know, past his rear end, I think. I mean, it was a huge headdress. You know, in his native garb, which I believe to be, it was leather, I believe, like deer skin or something. His pants and his shirt. And so we'd go in there and we'd run up to him and say, "Hey, Chief White Cloud, how are you today?" And he wouldn't move. He wouldn't blink. And then sometimes when we like look away or, you know, start to look away, he'd either twitch his finger or he'd move his, he always he had his arms crossed. And he'd move a little bit. And then, you know, as a little kid, like, I saw you move. He'd like taunt us. And we'd go back and forth sometimes for 20, 30 minutes like that. And then finally he would come out of his, I'm going to say act, and he'd start talking to us. He'd uncross his arms and he'd start talking to us. We'd go in the store brakes on it